they're powerful tools. You know, they're very powerful tools, but they start with what's happening up here. So conceptually, if you imagine for a moment, just take a moment, and imagine that you, in essence, are just this infinite ball of energy. Just this infinite ball of energy, that the actual act of being alive is kind of, in a way, is infinite possibility, infinite potential. And it's funny because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know that you don't know what you don't know. And so there's this kind of sense, I was thinking about this morning in the shower, actually. I was just thinking about like how free we can be, just how free we can be. We just be in our, oh, you know, everything is good, everything, you just feel like anything is possible. And in fact, that in some way is true within certain constraints, which, you know, probably in the next 1,000 years, even those are going to be overcome. So just for a moment, just imagine yourself as like this ball of infinite energy. And then what happens is in that ball of infinite energy, there is this kind of condensing that happens. And the condensing is like this filtering of the energy that comes through your belief systems. Like that's the first level. And these are like these meta ideas that we have, these huge ideas for life. You know, it would be sort of the equivalent of me asking you like, what's the purpose of your life? Why are you here? They're like those big questions, and they filter down this energy. And then those things step down into these sort of descending beliefs. And you have a bunch of those, whether you're conscious or not, that are taking this infinite flow of energy and sort of filtering it down and moving it into this more and more condensed package. And then that starts to get into our bodies. So we start with these kind of big ideas. Hello.
Welcome.
So we start with these big ideas, they filter down, and then eventually they find themselves locked in the body. And we have this idea where you're maneuvering, and you can think of your body as a reflection of your beliefs. Here's what I mean by that. Everybody has a tone. Everybody has a quality. You meet somebody and you immediately go like, oh, they have a vibe, they have a feeling, that's something I'm attracted to, or I'm repulsed by, or I have a sensation of. That vibe you can think of as kind of the skin of your beliefs. This thing where your ideas about the world, your ideas about how you interact, your survival techniques, the things that have allowed you to be in this room. You know, we all have lots of kind of bullshit stories, but the reality is that if you're in this room, there are 3 things I know about you. Number 1, you're capable. You're capable, okay? Because there's a lot of people who are not in this room. And there's a lot of people that wanted to be in this room and didn't. And there's all these things. There's always, especially when you're moving energy, like when we're moving energy, there's lots of people who are, in fact, I spoke to some people last night. I will absolutely be there. Crickets, right? So the first thing I know about you is that there's a certain, right, there's this kind of certain like, yeah, okay. An adventurous kind of like, I'm willing to go on a ride. I'm willing to deal with some degree of discomfort in the pursuit of something bigger than, right? Something greater, some deeper expression. That process is what we're talking about. So here's this infinite ball of energy. It gets filtered through beliefs. I can look at I can tell most people's background just simply by looking at their body, because the body is so reflective of our beliefs. It's so reflective. So if you have, you know, body image things reflected in our beliefs, right? Ideas about who you are, your capability, how, you know, good looking, I'm not good looking, I'm this, I'm that, all these stories, these all get reflected in the body, right? And you can tell all kinds of things about that. And we know these intuitively, like we can look and we just go, oh, okay, I have a pretty good idea that this person's dealing with this person has some, anger stuff. I love meeting people who are like, hi. You're just like, holy fuck. So that, what I want you to get in touch with is to just play with the idea for tonight, just play with the idea that your body is expressing to some degree your deepest held beliefs. Where this gets really interesting is around sexuality. It gets very interesting around sexuality because sexuality is so part and parcel to life. Nobody, let me ask, did anybody get here through Immaculate Conception? Okay, just checking. Right, so we all got here because somebody got fucked.
You're trying to tell me that.
Yes, I'm sure. It wasn't me. I love that story. Someday I will debunk that. It's hilarious. I do the history of religion and also the history of sex. Immaculate Conception is they're great ideas, but they're not real. The reality is we came through sex. You got here.
Are you saying life is a sexually transmitted disease?
That is another way to say that. Yes.
Terminal disease.
That's right. Terminal. So if you understand, if you start with that reality, that there is this thing, this very powerful force that moves through us, and we're all trying to cope with this force in our own ways. We're all trying to cope, either suppression, control, denial, sometimes embracing, sometimes just sticking our toe in it, trying to find our way. What's our path? What do we do with all this energy? What do we do? What do we do with these desires? What do we do with these crazy things that are moving through us? And this is kind of learning how to say yes and understanding that wherever you are in your body is reflecting the decisions and beliefs you have around sex, pleasure, freedom, expansion. And so that's what we're kind of playing around with tonight. And so I want you to just feel the energy of the quality of sex just right now. Like this thing where you feel your body and in that body is this movement of what I'll call life force right now. And that life force has a quality. So we're starting, you might as well just jump in, just starting with feeling, just in your own body, whatever it means to you, just feeling that pulse of sexual energy. That pulse of life force, that desire, that thing that's happening every day, everywhere, with things that are alive. It's this movement of energy, of desire. And what happens is that energy, as I said, it gets kind of stepped down and filters into the body. And then depending on on what we believe about our body and sex energy, then that filters through. So tonight, we're going to start to just try on an idea. We're going to try on an idea. And the idea is this. It's simple. That maybe, just try this on, right? So I apologize ahead of time if you're like, fuck you, you're pissing me off. Just open apology. just try on the idea. You can always pick it up later and pick up all the stuff you walked in with. But just for the purpose of what we're playing with, our petri dish, and for the purpose of having more freedom and expansion in your body, for the purpose of owning your sexuality more, I want you to try on this idea. Just pretend that we could go back in time to that moment where you got your first idea about sexuality. Maybe it's something a parent said, maybe it's something you've read, you heard about, some kids were talking about, but somewhere in there you got an idea or a series of ideas about your body and sex. Some of those things are implied, some of those things are, you were literally told, do not do that, don't rub that button, don't touch that thing, don't play with that, put that away. Just before that, so imagine we could wheel back, just pick any spot that comes to mind, maybe when you're a teenager, it doesn't matter, but a point where you kind of had a decisive moment about who you were sexually or what sex meant. And just wheel back before that. Just imagine we could just turn the frame back. We could just, like a movie, you could just wheel back just before that event. And there's this moment where there's kind of infinite possibility. Where sex energy is a radiant experience. Where you're just, it feels good to feel good. And everything's okay. There's no sense of judgment or shame. There's just, I am alive. I am vibrant. I'm excited. I have things on my body that when I touch them, they feel really good. Now imagine that somebody, could be the crazy shaman, but that somebody comes up to you and says, I am going to tell you the secret of sex. And that if you have this secret, you have the power. And you can take that with you for the rest of your life. And do know that your having this secret of sex is going to upset people. But that's not your problem. Your challenge will be to continue to cultivate your sexual energy regardless of what people say, because I'm going to teach you the secret. And they whisper in your ear, and they say this. So pay close attention. Life, the secret to life. It's not about love. Though love is a beautiful thing. It is not about pain and suffering. Though those can be powerful motivators. Life, the act of life is about this one word, and it may be the most spiritual word that I will use tonight. And they get close and they say, life is about fuck. Life is about fuck. Fuck happens. Fuck is what is going on. When you see the bees going into flowers and flying, there is fucking happening. Fuck is what created you. Fuck is what motivates these buildings in huge cities and for people to collect and amass. Fuck drives armies and wars. Fuck drives the world. And the big lie is that everybody's going to tell you that that's not a good thing. And they're going to tell you that you need to control it, and that you need to suppress it and repress it and hide it and shame and all that stuff. But that's because they're trying to get you to control your own power of fuck. So for a moment, whatever that means to you, you can shift the word if you like, but in essence, just for a moment, take in your body. If you had that infinite energy and you were just like, oh, that you could just have room to be, that we were living in a reality where people understand that sex is happening, that life is about this movement of energy, that it is the most natural thing that is happening because it is the essence of life. And that if you could just for a moment imagine that you could feel that pure pulsation, that pure pulsation. And just let that expand in your body where you are like, oh, the secret to life is the most natural impulse you have, the desires you want, those deep places where you're so afraid to be in the power of your genitals, to feel that raw desire, that if you already had the seed planted, like, oh yeah, of course you're going to feel those things, of course you want to explore, of course you want to, that doesn't need to be contained, it simply needs to be cultivated. Cultivation means it's the ability to be present, to allow, to flow without control in your own inner space. So that you begin to get this sense that it's perfectly okay for me to feel everything that I feel. Not only okay, it's normal. That the crazy shaman at the edge of the village said, the secret to life is that aliveness, that power. And what if you could just feel that in your body? What if you could just feel that? What if for a moment, without judgment, without shame, without guilt, without fear, you could just feel, get a sense of your genitals and just have them be okay. Like it's just okay, like it's okay. That those impulses, those desires, those things that have been driving you, thriving you, those things you've been afraid of, the things you've been trying to control, that the most natural impulse there is, at the very core of how you are coming to be in this room, is sex. And then if you could just feel that energy for a moment, what would that feel like? Without judgment, without shame, without guilt, without blame, without control, just So we're going to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and hold that breath. Inhale. Hold the breath at the top. Squeeze your body a little bit. Squeeze and then relax and give it a sound and exhale. And just notice whatever comes up for you. I'm just going to check in a little bit. I just want to see, how does that feel? Just, maybe a couple of people share. What if you were just in that space of, it's okay. What you're feeling is okay. Where this, for me, gets really interesting is that these ways in which we're controlled, in essence. When I say we're controlled, I don't have like there's this big conspiracy. No. What I'm saying is, in other words, the best way to kind of keep is basically to keep people in pain and in confusion about the most natural impulse that there is. And if you're in pain and confusion about that, it's just I don't know how else to say this, but it's a lot easier to extract cash and, to get you to do things, and, it's a weird thing. I don't think anybody was smart enough to come up with this plan. I think it was really a system hack in a way. Like, we're just very susceptible to this confusion. And so what's interesting about it is, like, especially around female sexuality, right? So I love this because a lot of times, well, I've experienced this, right? When you start to realize that the game has been about controlling your womb, and so the fear that you feel, or your cock, that the game is that the terror is because you've been told a bunch of lies one way or another, and they're big lies. These are huge cultural, global lies. But when you understand, if you can reconnect kind of with the radiance, and if you can reconnect that without those stories, there is just energy, which is really what sex is. Sex energy is just really pure, just this movement of energy, this movement of desire, this impulse to create or recreate, or just play, like this powerful force. It gets controlled and suppressed and repressed, and then what happens is we move through life and people themselves start arguing and telling you why that's so important that we keep your vagina under control. No, really. No, really. And that's the game, right? So the joke of this is the very thing which is your, the womb, the space, this ability to be like, is just like, oh no, put that away.
And we all have that.
Yeah. So terror is natural, excitement is natural. Lots of sensations are natural in this. And all I'm gonna have you do, see, because here's the big fear, right? The big fear is, let's just say, suddenly your pussy is unleashed. Suddenly you just realize, oh my God, that was all a fucking lie. Blah! Right? I'm just gonna become like this pussy monster. And that's awesome. Yay. Not really what happens, but it's still beautiful to give yourself that space. Like, what happens, because the energy is so infinite and so expansive, that my experience is, if you're willing to just touch it even just a little bit, the real power of that, the real unbridled power of that energy, that you can harness that for all kinds of amazing things. And that's really what the essence of what I like to play in. And we're going to be doing, like, that's going to be our exploring. We're going to kind of, like I said, we'll split up into groups and we'll sort of do a little men thing and a women's thing. But the essence of it, the framework is, what happens if you drop some beliefs that may or may not be serving you. You try on the framework, and I'm just asking you to try it on, that the big joke is that sex is, that fuck is, that things have been happening, that, like, people are always, there are two funny stories, there are two funny big myths that are out there. Number one is that men are cheaters. Which I love this myth because it's a beautiful myth. It's great, and it's got a whole storyline to it. He fucking cheated on me, and I can't believe it. Blah, 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 and right? And I'm like, okay, that's awesome, cool, because it's a storyline, especially in America. I don't know how much in Canada, but basically, I would get a call on the phone. why are you calling me today? You know, what's our session about? Well, he cheated on me and blah, blah, blah. And that means, and then we go through this litany of things that ends in divorce and big drama and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Yeah, men suck, man. They've got these dicks that they're trying to poke around. And they try to, you know. So there's this thing that's going on, right? But the joke there is that men are not going around fucking pigeons. You see, that's the big joke, because you wouldn't be getting a divorce if there was pigeon fucking going on, or cattle fucking, or goat fucking. Yeah, which happens, right? You just would be like, what you don't understand, and this is the secret, see, female sexuality has to be much more hidden. Because you don't want to be a slut. So the guys go out and they're, well, I agree, but I'm just saying, in the cultural myth. So the female sexuality has to be hidden. And so the guy's running around and like, he cheated on me. But what we don't understand is that there was HET, somebody who received that energy, who was nurtured by that energy, fed by that energy, saw an opportunity with that energy. And so the discussion, it ends up being like this like pain, suffering discussion, instead of dealing with the reality of that we are all have this beast of energy, you know, this powerhouse of energy that's just like, whoa. And that there is a reason why the world population doubled in 50 years. Doubled. It wasn't because of Immaculate Conception. It was because people were fucking lots all over the world. And so the population just goes, boom, and it's continuing. It's going to double again, right? So what we've learned to do is not have the discussion, not deal with reality. Then it comes out in these weird ways. Instead of somebody saying out and out, like, hey, man, I'm really horny and I really feel like I want to be able to have a discussion with you about that. Or a woman being able to say, I really feel like I want to devour, because sometimes that's how the pussy is. She's just like, ah! And actually, it can be scary. I love it personally, but I'm just saying. So as we start to get in touch with these movements of energy and start to own them more and start to have adult discussions about them, really cool things start to happen. So that's what I'm going to encourage today. And we're going to do a little exercise. We're going to all stand up in a moment and just do this practice of just feeling the energy dropping. I'm going to ask you to drop the stories, the storylines, the moralities of it, the rights, the wrongs, the this and that. We could talk about all that stuff ad infinitum. And you can go basically anywhere to have those discussions. What I'm interested in is dropping those and then seeing what's present. Dropping those and seeing what's present. What happens when, if for 2 seconds, you were to just let yourself feel that energy without story, without judgment, without shame, without blame, without trying to control it. That's called overcoupling. Overcoupling is this idea of like, I feel good in my body. Oh, bad things are going to happen. Put that down. Put that away, right? And we're taught that. That's how we're taught. I mean, literally I can say to a person, everybody in this room at some point was smacked down for their sexual energy. Because that's how we roll. That's what we do. Okay, so to those of you that have been playing the game of sort of open, you know, closed, open, closed, open, closed, or closed, open. Oh, I have such a hangover. What did I do? Closed. that we try something else tonight, which is just that we try open and just relax. Okay, so the very thing that mommy and daddy were afraid of is this discussion. That somebody would say to you, by the way, people are fucking or they want to fuck. And sex is happening. And the power of humanity, the driving thing is that. And if you just start to deal with that reality, good things happen in your body. Good things happen all over the place. I teach this class all over the world. And what people end up having the experience of is not the thing that they're most afraid of, which is that they're just going to go around and just be all like, wah. But in fact, what does happen is there is this new level of adult conversation, a new level of expression and being able to ask for what you want, a new level of openness to the energy. And of course that creates kind of a very delightful vibe, which then, you know, I'm always like, if you want to change the world, I meet lots of people who are like, I'm saving the world, I'm carrying my cross, I'm suffering. I'm like, drop that and just feel good and share feeling good with people and good things happen. Right? I mean, that's awesome, but you know, that's been going on for like 2,500 years, and I think it's enough because it ain't working. Whatever that's supposed to do, it ain't working. You give an idea of 2,500 years or 3,000 years of like more suffering, more pain, more work harder. Yeah. Let's try on something new, which is give yourself some space, acknowledge the fact that you came from fuck, because you did. That would have a resonant frequency in your body, because it does. And that is the most normal thing that there is, which it is. Then everything else is learning how to share and express and communicate and discover what those deepest desires are.
And then the world changes itself without you having to do anything but be you.
Exactly. And maybe it won't change, and that's okay too. Okay, so here's all I want you to do. Take a moment, feel your body, get a little bit of space, and just feel your body for a moment. Just feel your body. Feel your body and just pretend that it's okay for you to feel energy in your body. That you got the secret. It's like, oh, okay. And you make some space, you relax your genitals, you relax your belly, your womb, your sex center, you relax your toes, you just make some space. And just see if you can feel, to the degree that you can, that pulsation of energy. The thing that is the difference of I am alive versus I am dead. So there's the literal rhythm, the beating of your heart. That pulsation of energy. There's the pulsation of desire. There's the pulsation, the movements. Just for a moment, put down all the shame and the guilt and the blame and all the, like, everything. And just for a moment, just feel the pure energy of that call to life. Let your chest reach up. Let your arms hang long. Relax your ass. Relax your toes and just breathe for a moment. If your body needs to move, or your hips need to move, your arms need to move. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to give ourselves more space in the body. That's the game we're going to play. You've done a whole lifetime of repression, suppression, so we just want to start with just giving yourself some room. Start with 30 seconds. Just, oh, wait a minute. Oh, what do I feel like here? What does it feel like to feel? And to just know that it is okay for you to feel desire to whatever degree you have in whatever way you do. And we're going to do, our next piece is going to be this beautiful piece. We're going to move into a puja piece, but I want you to move in with this awareness. With the awareness of that this flow of energy is happening and you are part of that energy. And part of that energy and freedom is realizing that there's an infinite number of ways for it to express. And that you can start to have some choice in how that expresses for you. And that it's not about point A inside of slot B or this thing touching that thing, but it is about how you cultivate the quality of energy that flows through your body. And to whatever degree you can, just give space for that flow of energy to whatever degree you can, and just right now welcome that energy. Welcome the I am alive. If you feel a little tingle, which some of you may be feeling, a little bit of tingle in the genitals, that's normal. Welcome that. If you feel some tingling around the back or the shoulders or around the heart or the chest, if you feel some, whatever you feel, just welcome that. And realize that as we go on this journey tonight and as energy moves, things will come up that want to simply be let go of. So I come from Sedona, Arizona, where there are vortexes. And so imagine this vortex that just is kind of sucking anything that you don't need into the ground. So that you can just let some stuff go. And just come play tonight. Just come play. You're totally safe because you are. To explore and discover and be curious about this thing that we call life and the impulse of life, which is the impulse of sex and freedom and expansion. Give yourself a little, like maybe a hand on your heart or wherever you want to ground the energy, maybe your womb or your belly or your genitals or your... but just feel for a moment. Just give yourself that gift.